In the aftermath of The Force Awakens, the character of Rey became an area of contention between fans. Some considered her a great character and role model for girls, while others viewed her as a perfect Mary Sue. Now, I'll be upfront with you guys. Daisy Ridley did a great job. She gave the character of Rey a lot of life and personality. In that regard, I think she is a great character. However, her writing within the context of the story is what I have a problem with. Beyond this, her creation, or at least the attitude surrounding her creation, is another aspect I have a problem with. With Disney taking the reins of Star Wars, there has been a push to write strong female characters as well as be more diverse. With this in mind, I have to ask, when has Star Wars written weak female characters? Princess Leia is one of cinema's legendary female characters, and she is already a strong female character. Granted, this happens, but keep in mind, she kills her would-be enslaver with the very chain he bound her with. If you want something to read into, there it is. Hell, Padme isn't a bad character either. Sure, in episode 3 she took a hit by watching the Emperor rise to power, but in her deleted scenes, we see her as a driving force to create the rebellion with the delegation of 2000. Writing strong female characters has never been a problem for Star Wars. Unto itself, writing more strong female characters has nothing wrong with it. But businesses under Disney's thumb have this trend of overcorrecting and writing terrible, preachy stories. When comparing Rey to the other protagonists like Luke and Anakin, we get a pretty clear picture where The Force Awakens went wrong. Those who say Rey is overpowered have a point, and let me illustrate why. For the sake of simplicity and fairness, I'm only going to compare episodes 1, 4, and 7. So for episode 1, Anakin wins the pod race, as well as destroys the droid control ship, ending the Battle of Naboo. In episode 4, Luke helps rescue Leia and destroys the Death Star by letting the Force guide him. Both Anakin and Luke have a moment that makes them stand out. However, in the case of Luke, he would not have been able to pull anything off without the aid of everyone else. Without Ben, he wouldn't have trusted the Force. Without Han and the gang, he wouldn't have been able to free Leia. With Anakin, this is not the case, but his raw talent in piloting alone is what gives him his moments. We get a taste of it with the pod race, so when he blows up the droid ship, it isn't out of the realm of possibility. However, Rey doesn't have 1 to 2 moments like Luke or Anakin. She has 4. So, the first one is her flying the Millennium Falcon out of Jakku. This admittedly isn't all that bad. However, it would have been nice to have a bit of build-up that shows the audience she is an incredible pilot. Now in the novelization, it states she found a Y-Wing training program she mastered over her years on Jakku. But this wasn't shown in the film, leaving audiences asking more questions than they should. For Anakin, this wasn't a problem, because we learned he is a pod racer, and then we later see this in action during the pod race. With Luke, we learn that he wants to become a pilot by joining the Imperial Academy, and that he flies skyhoppers. A bit of an explanation would have helped the audience is all I'm saying. Moving on to after she gets captured. Rey resisting Kylo Ren's mental assault isn't all that bad either. Her having a talent to resist the Force is something that pops up from time to time in Star Wars, but when this coincides with her using a mind trick to escape, I'ma have to call BS. We only see Luke use a mind trick during episode 6, the point where he is essentially a true Jedi Knight, but now, you're telling me she can do that without training, or really knowing what a mind trick is? Bullshit. The last portion of the film is where her power creep gets ridiculous, and she begins to outshine every character in the film, and not in a good way. The last moment she has is her fighting and defeating Kylo Ren in a lightsaber duel. Now the lightsaber is a hard weapon to use, and she doesn't even have military training to give her an idea on what to do. Kylo Ren, a trained Jedi and now a Knight of Ren, he should have beaten her, easily. Her winning just seems ridiculous after everything that had happened. She did way too much over the course of the film, a lot of which she had no right doing. If the duel didn't happen the way it did, and especially if she didn't do the mind trick, I'd be fine with her. But she didn't allow other characters to shine and have their moments in the film. Let's think about episode 1. Padme retakes the palace and captures Nute Gunray, all the while rallying the Gungans, the Naboo's sworn enemy kind of, to her cause. Qui-Gon battles Maul twice. The first time, they kind of stalemate, and the second time, he gives up one hell of a fight mano-a-mano, but then is ultimately killed. Then there's Obi-Wan, who kills Maul, and even Jar Jar rises to the occasion and helps win the Battle of Naboo. In episode 4, Obi-Wan sacrifices himself. Han shoots Greedo, several stormtroopers, and Darth Vader's tie, allowing Luke to blow up the Death Star. And then with Leia, she's running from the Empire with the plans in hand. She is tortured, but doesn't break, and she backtalks Tarkin as well as Vader. In 7, that doesn't really happen. Sure, Han and Chewie to a lesser extent get moments to shine, as does Poe if you really want to count the tensionless fight for Starkiller Base a moment. But Finn? Finn really gets the short end of the stick. From the way the movie was marketed, it seemed both Rey and Finn were the main characters. Sure, Finn did have that fight on Takunda, but after that, nothing with him really happens. Which is a shame considering he is a great character with a compelling backstory. I could forgive the mind trick if Finn was allowed to fight as well as defeat Kylo Ren. Imagine this for a moment. When the film starts, he is a disillusioned stormtrooper who deserts and tries to flee from the First Order. He doesn't want to fight anymore. He is terrified of the First Order. However, he throws that aside when Rey is captured. He is willing to face his own fears to save someone he cares about. Imagine then, Finn, just an average guy, with no destiny, unlike Rey, no strong connection to the Force, unlike Rey, facing down a Skywalker, the dynasty of the galaxy, facing down one of the symbols of the First Order, facing down a living embodiment of his fear. Not only does he stand tall against it, he rises above it and overcomes it. A lightsaber duel is supposed to be a visual representation of what is going on in a character's mind. Finn versus Kylo would have been more compelling, but instead, Rey fights him because the script demands it. Oh, and Maz wanted her to close her eyes to feel the Force. Okay, that's a bit unfair, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Beyond this, I'm having trouble finding any of Rey's personality flaws. Sure, she's naive, but that isn't much of a flaw. Beyond that, she does run from Maz's place after encountering the lightsaber, but that's more of a reaction than a flaw. Admittedly, Anakin did have the same problem, but we all knew he would turn into Darth Vader. Seeing him as a kind, smart kid worked, because we knew he would turn into a monster. For Luke, he was a whiny, annoying brat until Return of the Jedi. He was flawed. Hell, even Finn was flawed. He was terrified of the First Order and was a bit of a coward, and he was lying to Rey for a decent chunk of the film, until he overcame his flaw. Now, those are all my grievances with Rey. My problem with Rey is that I am actively rooting against her. I want her to fail. When she has all these moments with the Force that she didn't earn, as well as her lack of character flaws, I get a character that I loathe seeing on screen. Which is a shame, because Daisy Ridley's performance, as well as her general, just straight up character interactions are enjoyable. But within the context of the story, she is too perfect. She is just not relatable. I do want to say that I do not hate The Force Awakens. I see it as a love letter to Star Wars and a statement saying, we're returning to form. However, if Episode 8, if The Last Jedi, is a retread as well, my opinion will change. The same holds true for Rey. If she remains perfect, I'ma really start hating that character. I'm hoping Disney is doing something clever. By making a flawless character, I am hoping that in Episode 8 and or 9, we see her fall to the dark side, or at the very least we get to see ugly parts of her. I don't hate the character. I do actually like her. But just like The Force Awakens, if nothing has changed, if they continue to do something safe instead of something new, my opinion will change. So with all that said, I've been Bufar191, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.